everyone. Welcome to Pivot Charter School's virtual information night. This session is for interested families in our school and in our program. I have a presentation that I'll go through. It is being recorded, so just keep that in mind regarding, unmuting or sharing your video. That we are recording this session for families who were unable to make it this time but want to watch the video later. I have some other staff with me here today that we can help answer your questions. So if you have questions about our school, about our program, you may type them in the chat and we'll definitely get to those at the end of the presentation. The presentation should only take about 15 minutes or so. It shouldn't be too long, but we do like to answer your questions because everyone seems to have a unique situation and we want to make sure you are comfortable with our school and our program and that it's a good fit for you and your student. My name is Lindsay Vining. I'm the Director of Systems and Accountability here at Pivot Charter School. And we will get started. So once again, being recorded, you can put your questions in the chat. Even if you have questions ahead of time, you could do that. Or while I'm going through my presentation. We do have a quick video we'd love to share with you so that you can see our students and our teachers in action. This video was shot prior to COVID, and so you'll notice people are unmasked, but that was prior to March 2020, so that is why they are not masked. But we'll play the video at this time.
Having a choice in schools was really critical for me because I had a few bad experiences in the previous school. I wanted to find a school where I didn't have the problems I had before.
Pivot is special to me because you can come into the Resource Center and I can have friends because homeschooling can be a very lonely process.
Before I came down here to go to Pivot, I was struggling like a lot because the teachers in the traditional school, they really wouldn't help you as much. But at Pivot, at break time, the teachers interact with the students, they play frisbee golf with them.
I chose Pivot because it was something different. It was obviously a unique learning system, and that's how I learn. I don't learn like other students do. Feeling like I'm part of this small little community, it makes me feel really good about myself.
The teachers are amazing. What I love is that you can communicate with them 24/7.
They're very hands-on and they're very caring. They do have a great sense of humor as well, which makes them very relatable, and it just makes it a great experience to be around them. It's opened up so many different possibilities for me having this flexible time here. I've really seen an improvement in myself.
My name is Nathan Klickner and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Chloe Schweigert and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Nazir and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Ebony Davis and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Madison and I'm a proud Pivot student.
Wonderful. So that's just some of our students and some of our teachers. We just wanted to show you guys kind of a little bit about that. I'm going to go through some of our common questions and go through our program. But like I said, for those and those who have arrived after the beginning, this will be recorded and we'll answer all your questions. Be sure to put them in the chat. So we'll talk about what is Pivot Charter School, who do we serve, why families choose us, frequently asked questions, and how to enroll. Today we have myself, Lindsay Vining, the Director of Systems and Accountability. I also have Kareem Polson, our Director of Student Services, and Teresa House, our Program Coordinator. They're here to help answer any questions that you might have. And if there's anything that we can't answer, we'll get your email and we'll be sure to send you the answer to your email. So what is Pivot Charter School? We are a tuition-free, fully accredited charter school that is an independent study school. So we are funded just like a traditional school, so you don't pay anything to come here. We are a charter school, which allows us some flexibility in the program that we run. And we're also an independent study school, which allows us to provide both distance learning and a hybrid blended learning model where students can come to a school site to receive in-person services and support and to do schoolwork, but also they have the option to work virtually or a hybrid of both, where they would come in sometimes and work virtually other times. Independent study requires students to do the work more independently than they would at traditional school, where it's very teacher driven on when and how you do your work. Independent study provides a little more flexibility for families. We have 4 Pivot charter schools. So we have people here at this meeting living in different areas of California. We have a North Bay school, a North Valley school, Riverside school, San Diego school. On the slide, you can see the grade spans and the counties for which each school serves. So you'll want to make note, depending on where you live, which Pivot charter school you would attend. And the reason that we can serve multiple counties and that it's feasible to do so is because of our independent study and virtual models. But you need to make sure you do live in a county listed. We're legally only allowed to serve students who live in the counties on this page. You'll notice that North Valley is our only school who doesn't serve an elementary grade span. And that's because each individual charter school is authorized by a different district in their area. And so how we have our program can vary based on those authorizing district requirements. So who do we serve? We serve a variety of students who generally enroll in our school because the traditional school system is not a good fit for them. But that overall statement breaks down into a variety of categories. So one category is for students who need credit recovery. Students who were not passing all of their classes at a traditional school may need to sort of catch up. And an independent study model allows them to do that because they can work at a quicker speed than they might be able to at a traditional school. We also, for that exact same reason, can accommodate students who are on an accelerated path, who wish to graduate early, but are limited by a traditional school with their current model of 6 courses per semester. If you want to go beyond that and graduate before the 4 years, you can do that with our independent study program. We also have a lot of students who find it difficult being in a large traditional school setting. Many high schools, for example, in the state of California are thousands of students large, and our schools, the North Valley, Riverside, and San Diego schools are under 150 students for total. And the North Bay school, which is our larger school, is 450 students for K through 12. So we're very small and they can get to know people better. And there's not thousands of students walking around every day. We also serve students who have constraints in their actual schedules, like their daily and weekly schedules. This could be due to work. A lot of our students work, medical reasons, maybe they travel, or other family obligations. So if going to a traditional school on like an 8 to 3 schedule is not working for you, then being able to work on a flexible schedule in an independent study program is a good fit to be able to still stay on top of your schoolwork, but also have other obligations during the day. And our elementary students and our elementary families that are interested in a homeschool type program, but don't want to develop their own homeschool on their own, enjoy the flexibility that we offer and the teaching staff that we offer them. So it's like a partnership model where if you have an elementary student, you act as their what we call learning coach at home. You're driving the learning at home, but you're utilizing the curriculum that we purchase, our credentialed teacher support. You can go on organized field trips that our teachers organize, virtual and offsite in-person field trips, workshops, clubs, etc. So you have the benefit of a school community without having to build a school all by yourself. And so that's what we offer to those elementary families. Now that you know who we are and who we serve, why would families choose Pivot? There's a lot of benefits to our program specifically. You know, we're an independent study school, but the program that we've designed could be unique as compared to other independent study schools. So I'm going to kind of go over the things that Pivot specifically does that you may or may not find at other charter schools or other independent study schools. So we provide regular diagnostic assessment in both reading and math for all grade levels, and high school also has a language arts component to those diagnostic assessments. And what that allows us to do is individualize the curriculum and the remediation to your student so that they're working on content that they should be working on and they're not going above or below their skill level. We're able to catch up students who might be behind in grade level, but also identify students who are above grade level and tweak course schedules based on those results. Our online core curriculum is also customized by our credentialed teachers. So not only do we purchase a curriculum through various vendors, but we also have our credentialed teachers build upon that curriculum and provide extra support within that system so that it's more customized to the needs of our students and it's not just whatever a company made. We have a robust system of support for both virtual students and on-site students. So we have virtual workshops and we have on-site workshops. We have virtual support and we have on-site support. So whether you choose to be virtual or you choose to come onto the school site, we provide instruction and support in both arenas. And I know now, people are interested more and more in the virtual support. And the great thing about the virtual support is that we can increase the groups that are benefiting from that. And so we continue to provide virtual office hours, virtual workshops, virtual clubs, virtual homeroom, virtual tutoring for students at Pivot. And our goal is to help students become independent learners. That's our goal. We have dedicated credentialed teachers that help support you and your student. Our teachers have what we call a caseload of students, and it's up to 30 that they get to know extremely well and help guide you through educational experience. You'll also get to know other credentialed teachers who may grade your work or hold workshops in your core courses that you're working with, but you'll have a go-to person you communicate with regularly who can help you get the resources that you need to be successful at our school. And that person we call an EC, which stands for Educational Coordinator, and their job is to communicate with you frequently about your students' progress in our school. And that's something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on from people who have tried other programs or have been in traditional school where teachers have to know hundreds of students and they're not getting as much communication as they'd like, where you're going to get a lot more frequent communication. Sometimes people aren't used to it and they think it's too much, but we found that when you have somebody communicating with you regularly, that's the best option for support for doing independent study. It's really, challenging when no one is there to help you with independent study. For our middle and high school grades, we have a unique block schedule that you can see on the screen where we focus students on a fewer number of courses at a time. Instead of having such a wide variety of classes they have to focus on at once, we kind of pare it down. And so you'll see that, for example, focus on English, and then once English is done, you're going to focus on math. That's because trying to do 6 classes at a time can be challenging for students who bouncing around topics frequently is difficult. We also have our social emotional learning opportunities. We have a counseling team who does small group and one-on-one counseling with general education and special education students. And we're really building out a really strong program there if you're interested in that. I spoke about the office hours. All of our teachers have office hours available to you throughout the week. And we have on-site and virtual opportunities for building school community. Obviously, right now, things are more limited, but in the past, we have field trips, clubs, we've done dances, we've done a lot of activities to build the school community. So you might decide to be a virtual student, but that doesn't mean you can't participate in some of these other opportunities to make friends, hang out with your peers. And it's really fun. The teachers really enjoy putting those together. We're building out our CTE courses and pathways for students who are interested in going straight to a career specialty. And we are fully WASC accredited, which means that we're recognized and our transcripts go with you to college and everything is not going to be questioned there. There are some schools who are not accredited, and that's scary. And we have a full schedule of A through G courses for students who are looking to go into a UC or a Cal State school right out of high school. And then I spoke about our on-site classes and clubs at our resource centers. Because students have different graduation paths and we recognize that, we ask high school students to let us know before they start their very first high school course what their goals are after high school, so that we don't pigeonhole them into certain courses. So if you know I'm going to go to a 4-state university and you tell us that, then we're going to put you on what we call a U-Prep path, and we're going to make sure that you're taking the classes that you need in order to apply to the school that you want to apply to. And we have an academic counselor who you would work with, and we would make sure every step of the way you're getting the things that you need. But if you know, oh no, I'm going to go to community college, or I'm going to work, or I'm going to start a trade right out of high school, you don't need to take physics, for example. You don't need to take algebra 2, which you might be forced to take in a traditional school. We would put you in what we call liberal arts path, and that gives you more flexibility to take different classes than the ones that a four-year college might require for admissions. You'd have the same graduation credit requirements. It's still 225 credits to graduate, but you have a lot more flexibility in the courses you choose in order to fulfill those requirements. Our virtual workshops are twice per week, and we have them for all of our core subjects. You can see this current schedule there. And that allows you to, actually show up with a credentialed teacher in that area, and they can walk you through the course. If doing it independently is a struggle, we have teacher workshops that guide you through the courses. So frequently asked questions, for those who are like, do I have a question, or what can my question be? We have some, we get a lot, and so we'll answer those now. But like I said earlier, if you have a question, throw it in the chat, and we'll be sure to get to it in the next few minutes, because I'm almost done with this part of the presentation. So a lot of people ask, will Pivot be easier? Or they don't even ask, they assume that a school like ours is going to be easier than traditional school. I'm not going to say it's easier. I'm going to say it's very different. So for example, you don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. You don't have to get dressed and go by 8 or whatever the time is. So for some students that feels easier. But the work itself, it's, aligned to what California high school students are taking. I'm just saying high school because it's their largest group, and those are the ones who find it more of a struggle. Working independently is the part that I would say is harder. You're going to have a teacher who is your go-to teacher, is going to support you every single day. But independent study does require motivation and independence and support at home to get it done. If you're committed to doing school every day, we have found that the students who do that really love our program because it gives them a lot of flexibility. But it is challenging for some students to motivate themselves to do school without having to sit at a desk in front of a teacher at a blackboard. Will I know how I'm doing in my courses, and will I be able to get help when I'm struggling? The good news is the systems that we use tell you exactly your grade in a second. They tell you everything you need to know. Parents get that data as well. And so you will know how you're doing. You don't have to, ask anyone. You will know. And your educational coordinator will also know. And you'll be able to work with them on setting up your calendar for your workshops, for office hours, what the resource center offerings are, and potentially other types of remediation. So we can make sure that you're getting all the help that you need if you are struggling. How is attendance counted at Pivot, and when am I considered absent? This is a really big question that often people don't understand, so I want to be really clear. It is independent study, but you must still work every school day. This is not like a packet type of school that in the past, where you get a packet of work and you meet with your teacher once a week and you just turn in your packet and they give you a new packet. We sort of moved on from those days. And you have to work every single school day. You have to log in every school day, and you have to do work every school day. If you don't, you will be considered absent, and we do have truancy at our school. So this is not the type of program where you can just sit back and, just work one day a week and, I'll get it done eventually. We are going to bother you every school day if you're not doing some kind of work. You can work with your teacher on what that would look like, but just know we do count absences every school day. If you don't have an excused absence, you will be marked absent. And if you have a lot of unexcused absences, you could be marked as truant. How much does Pivot cost? I went over that in the beginning, but we still get this question a lot. It's not of a cost. We get funded with school dollars, just like a traditional school. So you don't pay anything to come to our school. Is my student able to work completely from home? The answer is yes. We really think we have a strong virtual program. If you participate in that program, it's easy to work from home. But we will say that many students struggle to work from home. Maybe they don't have a quiet workspace. Maybe they're distracted with other things. You know, they want to play video games or watch movies or go outside and skateboard, which is all great, and our school allows them to do that. But if they're not able to get their work done, we sometimes mandate you come for in-person support at our resource center, because our goal at our school is to help you promote to the next grade level, complete all your coursework, and eventually graduate from high school. So if you're unable to work completely from home, you may have to come into the resource center to work. What materials do you need? You really just need a reliable device that connects to the internet. All of our curriculum is online. All of your workshops you'll access online. If you need anything above and beyond that you can't get, like a certain book or some materials, you would just let your educational coordinator know, and we would be sure to get you what you need to be successful. So we do, for example, have our English reading physical books that you can borrow if you want to do that, or any other kind of supplies. What if my student is behind in their skills? So this is really happening a lot right now because of the disruption of COVID in our schools and students going back and forth between remote learning and in-person learning, and some traditional schools finding it hard to adjust at the beginning of COVID to that type of environment. Students maybe weren't staying on track. That's why we have our diagnostic assessments. We assess students upon first enrollment. So as soon as you enroll, you're going to take a test, and we're going to find out if you're behind. And if you're behind, we're going to make sure we catch you back up by providing additional support, whether it be curriculum that's individualized, or you meet with a specialist or a tutor. We're going to get you the help you need to get back on track. So that is our goal. And we want you to participate in that remediation, because that's going to get you to be successful in your coursework, to get you back up on grade level. And how much time should I expect my student to be working on the computer? We get this question a lot, and there really isn't a single answer. I tell families, expect your student to work on school the same amount of hours they would if they were in traditional school. So if you're in traditional school 7 hours a day, mentally expect to spend 7 hours a day on school, in independent study. That doesn't mean all students need 7 hours to work, but you should expect it's going to take an equivalent amount of time. I will tell you, students who are motivated definitely don't need that much time each day. But you really have to be motivated and on top of your schoolwork and focus to be able to do it in a shorter amount of time. And then you have, the flexibility in your schedule to do those other things that I mentioned previously, working or other extracurricular activities. And a lot of this time is actually going to be off the computer. You're going to be reading, you're going to be writing, you're going to be doing other things. It's not all on the computer. So we talk about just engaging with schoolwork in general. It will be multiple hours a day. It's not just a few minutes a day. So you do want to prepare yourself for that time commitment. So those are the general questions we get a lot. Now is the time, if you have other questions, to put them in the chat. Here's some of our students. You can see we've done some dance and some music clubs. We went to Yosemite one year. We have our funny elementary student. I love that picture. On the next slide, I'll leave this up for those who want to know, okay, what's the next steps? Well, the next steps would be to contact the person at the school who handles your enrollment, or if you have further enrollment questions. And like I said at the beginning, we have 4 Pivot charter schools, and they serve a variety of counties. And so you want to make sure that you contact the school in for which you live. If you don't see your county on any of these lists, then we cannot serve you, unfortunately. So you do have to live in the county or in one of these counties to go to the Pivot Charter School. That's a law. Great. So I do have someone who's going to help read the questions to me. And it looks like maybe we have one. So Sarah, want to help read that question out for me?
Yeah, so can students participate in sports with their local school?
Oh, that's a good question. So we do not have a sports program. We are so small. Like I said, North Valley, Riverside, and San Diego are around 150 students. North Bay is our largest, but still only has 450 students. You can't double enroll. You can't be in two schools at the same time. And so if you are going to be a pivot student, you're a pivot student. You wouldn't be able to participate in the sports at another school, like a traditional school. We have had students who have done like club sports or outside of a school sports. And that's fine. But if you want to play like football at Pioneer, and I don't even know if they have a full team, I just made that up. If you want to play football at Pioneer, you have to be a Pioneer student. So, but we have had students who have come to Pivot, gotten caught up on their credits, and then gone back to their traditional school to continue playing sports, because I believe there is a requirement to be on a sports team to have a certain amount of credits or a certain GPA. And if you're on academic probation and you're unable to fulfill those requirements at the school, we have had students come to Pivot for a short time, get their work done frantically, and even prior to the season. So I remember, I don't think it was football, it might have been a different sport, but I do remember students who have come to Pivot for like one semester, the off-season semester, season of off-season sport, semester of off-season sports, get like frantically back on track, up their GPA, get their credits, and then transfer back to their school during sports season to be able to play. So I know we've done that in the past.
That is the only question in the chat at this time. If anyone else has questions, feel free to type them in there and we'll read them so Lindsay can answer you.
Yeah, we want to make sure that this is going to work for your family. So please, please, please ask questions.
We have one. Do you serve students with an IEP?
Yes, so if your student has an individualized education plan, all of our school sites have education specialists that would meet with you on your IEP, sometimes alter it to fit our school environment, because the IEP has to work in the school that you are enrolled in. And so they'll meet with you within the first 30 days of enrollment on your interim IEP. And then you'll have both an EC, an educational coordinator, and an ES, an education specialist, on your team. So if your student has an IEP, then they would have like 2 dedicated staff members to them to make sure we're getting their general education coursework complete and also getting their special education goals worked on at the same time.
No. Oh, follow-up question. How often does a student work with their teacher?
That really depends on the student. Our teachers would love to work with you guys more, but we found that it's really student-driven. Teachers are really excited to work with you, but students are unwilling. They'll work with you as much as they can. The educational coordinator will meet with you at minimum once per week. And then the other teachers who do workshops, do office hours, that would be another touch point for meeting with teachers, but it wouldn't be your educational coordinator. But at minimum, expect to communicate face-to-face virtually, not just texting, face-to-face virtually with your educational coordinator at least once a week. But a majority of our students communicate with their EC every day, and it's usually by text, just so you're aware, but also they use GChat, they use email, just students like texting. So be prepared to communicate with your teacher every day, but you do have a minimum weekly requirement of a Zoom call at least, just to check in, make sure you're on track. And keep in mind, semesters are short, so once a week is really not that much. And then also families should be prepared for a family meeting with their educational coordinator once a month. And those are on Fridays because we don't have workshops on Fridays. So those are all meeting days. So once a month on a Friday, prepare to talk to your teacher, and keep in mind, semesters are short. So once a month is not that many meetings. So we really want to make sure that you guys are available for those meetings. And they're virtual unless you guys really want to have them in person.
All right, we have another question. Was the example schedule typical for most students? For example, the PE was 18 weeks, but math was only 9 weeks and science was only 6 weeks.
Yeah. that's
Want
a
to go
really
back
good
to the
question.
slide, maybe?
Yeah, let's see if I can get back there. So, yes, this, and we've had a couple block schedules before, and so we've tweaked them, and so I can explain the reason. So in independent study, you have to meet a certain minutes requirement for physical education, and so students should prepare themselves to complete 40 minutes, high school students or middle and high school students, 40 minutes on average per school day of physical activity that they keep in a log. Elementary students 20 minutes per day on average, they keep in a log. If you play a sport, you can fill out an independent study PE form that your coach would sign once a month, and that would be fine. And for those who do like, an hour and a half on one day, it's an average. So if you're doing longer days, you don't have to do it every single day. So by doing 18 weeks, then the 40 minutes per day meets, and you don't have to do like hours a day, because if we squished it to a shorter period, you would have to do hours and hours every day, and that's so silly. So that's why physical education is just the whole time. It's just so those minutes don't add up too quickly. And then English and math, the goal of the schedule is so that you're not doing 6 classes all at one time. English and math, as you can imagine, tend to be the most students would struggle with. And so those have a slightly longer 9-week block instead of a short 6-week block. But science, social studies, and electives, when students are focusing, they can get through those classes really quickly. And they're able to get through a semester's worth of content in such a short time, because if you're just doing science, you're not also trying to do social studies. So you focus, more time on one subject. So at any time, a student should be prepared to do 3 classes at a time, but one of them is PE. So that one you're just filling out logs and stuff unless you're taking health. And so that, it's not really a really hard class. So they're really focusing on like 2 core classes at a time. And it's just, we've seen so much more success with just 2 at a time, super focused, than just doing a bunch of classes all at once, bouncing around. So yeah, this is a typical schedule. But our educational coordinators will get to know you and your students really well. And if this schedule does not fit your student, we can change it. It's just what we default to, but we're flexible. Like some students do want all 6 open at one time, and they can show that they can do all 6 at one time, and it doesn't provide a barrier to them. We'll do that. It's not a problem. So we just have found that this schedule does help more students. So we default to this type of schedule.
All right, another question. You mentioned workshops. What types of workshops do you offer, and how are those scheduled? Are they virtual or in person, both?
Yeah, so currently on Mondays and Wednesdays, our teachers are focused on in-person workshops, and those are writing, algebra, and other CTE and other types of classes and clubs. In every school, like we have 4 schools, every school, their schedule is a little different. And so that would be shared with you upon enrollment, what they offer. But that's like, you sit down and your teacher's right there, and it feels, more traditional, and it's in person, although the class sizes are much smaller than a traditional school. We have 10 kids in the class versus like 30 or 40 in a traditional school. Virtual workshops in English, math, science, and social studies are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so our teachers focus on in-person workshops Mondays and Wednesdays, virtual workshops on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So theoretically, a student could go all the time, all of them. And then Fridays, no workshops, because those are meeting days, and we want our teachers to have their schedule open to meet with families, meet with students. If you have an IEP meetings, other kinds of meetings. And so that runs through the whole time. And I just realized elementary has a totally different schedule that doesn't follow that at all, but their schedule is also similarly structured. I just don't know them off the top of my head, but they have a structured schedule, a combination of in-person and virtual times. And I forgot the last question. Can they go to all of them? Sorry, I got a little excited. Did I answer it, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so. But that's it in the chat for now. Oh, one more came up.
Okay.
Is there a window to apply for enrollment?
Oh, that's a great question. So we start a little bit later than other schools. So our semester ends a little bit later. Right now is a transition time for most schools from fall to spring. And so it's a good time to enroll because then there's less disruption and they get, their fall report card and they bring their fall report card over and we start, we pick up where they left off. But right now, none of our schools are on a wait list, which is not always true. We have had wait lists in the past because we can only serve as many students as we have teachers. And as a school of choice, we can get to a wait list. So at a traditional school, you live there, you go there. So at a lot of charter schools, sometimes there's a wait list. We currently do not have any wait lists, which is really good, but I don't want to make any promises that we're not going to get to a wait list because we are enrolling a lot. But currently you can enroll at any time. And if you enroll kind of at a weirder time, what we do is we take your drop grades from your previous school and we try as close best we can to start you in the same about spot of a course that you were doing previously. So we are able to accommodate mid-year enrollment fairly well, unless we don't offer the class. If we don't offer the class, then we can't do that transition. So we love to see students enroll, at the beginning or in the middle, but we can always accommodate enrollment any time of the year.
Looks like that was the last question in the chat.
Okay, great. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to the people on this slide. They handle enrollment at each school. You can also email me, which it follows the same it'd be lvining@pivotchart.org. It's like first initial, last name, except for Joelle, because we had two J Tucker, so she got her own unique thing. But lvining@pivotchart.org if you have any generic questions. We want to make sure it's a good fit. You never want students bouncing around. It's can be disruptive. So any questions, please reach out. We really appreciate you guys coming today, looking at other options for your students, because we know there's a lot going on right now. And, we want to make sure that it's a good fit, and there's so much to consider. And so we believe we have a strong program, but we also want our students to want to come to us. So you can also reach out to those on this slide if you're interested in touring or seeing the resource centers in person. So just know that we're still running our on-site programs with all the COVID protocols as usual, but they are open and our teachers do work out of them still. But thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. We hope you have an excellent evening and happy Tuesday.